Welcome back to finishing our sweet sock. We're working on our heel and we've already lifted our needles on the back side of the machine and we've transferred our stitches, and now we're going to get ready and start cranking. Over here we need to take our drive pin out and just set it on top. That way we won't lose it. And our next objective is going to be to put a little brake on the tappet plate. We need to do that mostly because it's a master machine. And not all master machines do this, but the one I have does, and that's that it likes to not stay put. It wants to travel around. So I put this little brake in, set it right there, and it helps stop it from following the rest of the rubber on around, and it just stays put. Okay, we're going to crank around on the back side, and right here over on the side, this is the first needle we lift. It's the needle behind the half mark. And we're not going to come back and reshape that. We just want one step out away from the rest of the front part of the sock. And we're noticing the things like, well, is the brake working? Yeah, it's working. And all along the way, I'm looking for reasons to find and prevent a problem. So we lifted the needle on the back side on the left. Now we've come back over here to the right, and we're lifting the needle in front of the half mark, and we'll lift the needle in front of the half mark on the left side. And while you're doing this lifting needles, it's really easy to get yourself poked and to actually be drawing blood. Rather than do that, it's good to have a small tool, something you can hold in your hand and still crank at the same time. That's why we have this little tool that we took out of parts from a bulky flatbed tool. And so it's a large eye, more so than what it would be if it was a tool for a standard flatbed. If there is any questions you have as we're going along that this narration isn't answering, do get back with us over at www.coloradocranker.com at our blog, because we're devoting that as tech support. That said, one thing I want to comment about with regards to our lifting needles is this is a way to do two things. Decrease down as we need to shape our heel, but also to do an automatic wrap. This takes the place of trying to wrap. And wrapping, I used to do it all the time. I did it for years, both on flatbed and on sock machines, and it creates as many problems as it solves. Lifting a needle doesn't create any problems, and it pretty well makes the progression as you go along almost invisible. Equal steps, no holes. And no holes is really what it's all about. Now our next step is to add some weight to the front of the heel. We're watching and seeing that the stitches are riding up a little bit, so we need to add our heel hook right here between the front heel marks, underneath, between the knitting and the cylinder, and we want those hooks facing in toward the knitting, and we want to hang it about 3/4 of an inch down from the top, up there as high as you can get it, and hang about 2.5 to 2.2 pounds of weight. That would be one stem plus one disc. As we crank along and continue our decrease shaping, I want to remind you that we're working our way over to the target needles on the front half. Those target needles have been pre-marked with red on either vein or rib, however you want to say it. It's the two areas on either side of a slot that frame that needle. That needle is our target needle, and we want to really set that off. So if you put red on either side of it, there's never a question of whether you go to the needle or what. So we're aiming for our target needles. And I use those marks for lots of different things. And you'll see that as we go along. Now what we've got here is we're ready for our 1 up, 2 down. We're going to put 2 down here, and we're working on the right hand side. We want to be on the right when we put our first 2 down. We've already done our 1 up, and so over here we're going to crank around to the right, and we'll lift that one of the 2 that we just put down. Now we're going to put 2 down on the other side. And we're back again. We're putting 2 down on the right side, and we'll crank around to the right, and we'll lift one of the 2 that we just put down. And we're cranking around to the left, doing the same, lifting 1, putting 2 down. As I go along, I get a little faster, trying to show you that if you practice, practice does make perfect, and you get to the point where you can pull 1 up and push 2 down almost simultaneously. Saves a lot of time. And now the issue about the 2, why are we putting 2 back into work? Well, initially, if you've never done this before, it doesn't seem intuitive. But what's really going on is that you're lifting 1 on the side of the yarn for an automatic wrap. Come back around, knit 2, then you've got 1 to lift for an automatic wrap. So that's the objective of putting the 2 back into work. And it actually makes a really nice even stair step. You're taking 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward. So you get a really nice stair-stepped shaped heel or toe in the process. Now, from the inside, it might look like there might be some holes coming along. There really aren't. It's just the way it's shaping it as you're doing it. When you take that off the machine, everything tightens up nice and neat. But one comment I want to make that you can't see here is that you can follow that shaping line if you don't have your ribber on. You can see it, and it'll point right to the needles that either need to be put down or the needle that needs to be lifted. So if you ever get lost and distracted and don't remember whether you put the needles down that you should have, look at it. You'll tell right away. All right, we're back here at the back. We have done our heel. We have got just 2 more to go. And we're going to put those 2 back down right at the half mark. Then we will crank around to the other side, including those 2. Now we need to lift, always lift, because that is what covers up that hole. And we'll crank back around to the other side since we've put the other 2 down, including them. Again, we're right at the half mark. We're going to lift that one right next to the half mark. We have finished our heel. So our next step is going to be our ankle, then our leg, then our cuff, and then our cast off. Come back and join us, and we'll watch more crank along videos.